Nothing says I told you so, like a Blaze reporter testifying to Congress that the border was indeed open under Joe Biden. Blaze News, the mandate starts right now. Welcome in, everyone. I'm Jill Savage. We made it back to Dallas. Let's go ahead and bring in our editor-in-chief, Matthew Peterson.
It's great to be back in Dallas, except it was awful fun in D.C.
It was. And our D.C. politics editor, he's still back there, Chris Bedford.
I think we're going to have to coordinate really well next time. No more, surprise visits always welcome, but I need to come up with the next Bedford bar crawl, the new D.C. bar tour. We got a lot to explore, you two.
Yes. Well, there's so much to explore. So let's get right into the news, because we had Blaze national correspondent Julio Rosas. He was out there actually in D.C. testifying before the House Committee on Homeland Security. And he went through and exposed how Democrats allegedly cooperated with all of the NGOs to facilitate the invasion that we all know happened at the southern border.
I've been covering the U.S.-Mexico border as a reporter since 2019. I saw firsthand how secure the southern border was during President Trump's first term. The numbers don't lie. The videos don't lie. What our country experienced was a deliberate invasion at the behest of the previous administration. Their efforts could not have been possible without the non-governmental organizations who provided the federal government the ability to flood our country with people who brazenly cross our borders illegally. The NGOs located along the border were often the first place processed migrants went to after being released by Border Patrol. These organizations helped the Biden-Harris administration avoid the bad optics of released migrants having to be on the street due to the large volume of overcrowding in certain sectors. The reason why it's important to not let this happen again is because the 4-year-long border crisis facilitated by these NGOs is the reason why there are riots in sanctuary cities today.
So, Matt, I want to start with you. We look at this, they would tell us it's a conspiracy. It's being ignored right out there. Even some other right-wing outlets wouldn't even be reporting on this. Now it seems like such an obvious thing to you and I, but this is still an issue.
Yeah, what's wild about this is it's happening in broad daylight in front of everyone's face, and it's been going on for a long time. And you're talking about billions of dollars. Just think of the audacity. Billions of dollars of your own money being used by the government and given to people who are going to help bring in millions and millions of people illegally. And this happened in America over the last however many years. And the fact that it's even a thing in the news that we have to talk about is ridiculous. It's reality. And they used your money to ruin your country and drag it down. And, thank God Julio and Mike Howell were out there today talking about this.
Yeah. And Chris, they were going through and they enabled the catch and release stuff. We saw the hundreds of thousands of children that have been involved in the billions and billions of dollars. This thing was just a mess. And it's good that we're actually trying to get to the bottom of it there on Capitol Hill.
Yeah, it's essential. And I've actually got a special guest myself. This is a panel show now from Washington, D.C.
There we go.
Because Mommy's also live at the same time, and she reserved this spot first. So we get an extra guest. But, when I came to D.C. in 2004, a long time ago now, immigration was not something that people talked about. Stephen Miller would start talking about it. He came on the scene just a few short years later. Center for Immigration Studies was talking about it. Jeff Sessions was talking about it. But Republicans didn't want to handle it. It was abortion to them. It was not something, there was something they could talk about a little. They didn't even actually want to talk about it. Remember, they expelled Steve King and called him a racist because he was trying to fight about this sort of thing. The way that President Trump and powered by the electorate have shifted this issue is just incredible over these last couple of years. And they also remember that Joe Biden, in part, won the Democratic nomination because he was the only person on the main stage of that primary who said that we shouldn't decriminalize border crossings. Well, as we've learned since, because of Mike Howell's work, because of Julio's work, because of the reporting here at the Blaze and elsewhere, that Joe Biden wasn't in charge. Joe Biden wasn't running it. So the other people, the nitwits who were on that stage ended up getting up there and making those decisions. And a lot of that was probably done with his blessing or without his knowledge. He was a lot more liberal than he pretended. And over these last couple of years, they've turned something where 20, 30, 40, 50% of the population was waking up to a serious issue, one that affects my neighborhood, one that affects my town, into a majority of Americans were experiencing this as a really serious issue. So we've all been through discussions with our family members, friends, loved ones, where they say, well, that's just Fox News reporting. That's just Blaze News reporting. That's just Glenn Beck or Tucker Carlson. That's not real. And you got people like Julio down there showing them the footage. It's really important to do that and to bring it to Capitol Hill. I mean, we all know that hearings can be frustrating. They don't solve things very often these days. Congress just wants to often hear itself talk. But when you actually, there's an important degree to it where there's a credentialing that's being done right now to our excellent reporters who go out there, put themselves in harm's way to bring us the truth, to bring us the footage, to bring us the interviews, to put this beyond the scope of what's realistic or what can be denied and what cannot, and what must be admitted. And when Congress has them here, all dressed up in a suit with a Marine Corps pin on, speaking extremely eloquently about the risks that this is posing to the United States, to communities, to cities, to officers, well, that's just an important step in bringing this further and further and further into mainstream consciousness and understanding until we get to a point where it's just now we have to argue, like we've kind of gotten to. Democrats don't deny it anymore. They just now have to say it's a good thing. And, that's a fight that I'm willing to have. And I think the American people are backing.
Yeah, you mentioned Oversight Project President Mike Howell. He's also a friend of the show. He was out there testifying. So let's go ahead and take a look at that.
Simply put, under the Biden administration's open border policies, the government could only do so much to facilitate mass illegal immigration, welcome illegal aliens into the United States, and move them around the country. The Biden administration needed help. So they drove an estimated $6 billion to a conglomerate of 15 UN agencies and over 200 nonprofits, as recently calculated by the Center for Immigration Studies, to do the open borders work for them.
Now, that was part of Mike's opening testimony, but what we didn't see there, Chris, is that Ranking Member Thompson was actually trying to throw out Mike Howell's opening statements. He was saying he was addressing the violence against the ICE agents and the improper use of congressional oversight, right? Like, you're just putting something out there for an opening statement, and they're like, no, I don't think we can have that. We need to try and do that again. And Mike Howell's like, reclaiming my time, like the boss that he is.
Mike Howell is one of my favorite people, even though I'm the one who lives in Washington. You guys introduced me to him. Matt's the one who introduced me to him. And now it's gotten to a point where I overheard a different reporter for a different outlet doing an interview. And I said, well, you talking to Mike? I could just hear a little bit on the other side. And they said, no, I was talking to his deputy. I said, well, that person got trained well, because his style and his pit bull style, his deep dive investigations, his complete and total unwillingness to even let friends and allies say, why don't you not go down that path? Why don't you? That's going to cause trouble for this Republican or that Republican. He doesn't care at all. He's going to try and get to the truth. And he knows this stuff. He knows it in and out. He's been around this town for a long time. So when he comes to give testimony to Congress and Democrats just try to say, yeah, do that, well, he's not listening. He realizes the actual way this is being played. And today was a fun day in D.C., except for the heat and the broken down car.
And, I look at it, Matt, and I'm just glad that Mike Howell's on our side and that we don't have to go up and fight against him.
Yeah, I mean, Howell was one of the easiest people to bring on as a contributor ever, because of just looking at him like, you belong contributing to us. So we're happy that he contributes to our investigative efforts. And this was an important day because both of these guys brought receipts. They just brought reality. I mean, this wasn't actually a very partisan thing. What they didn't want to hear was the fact that at least $6 billion was going directly from our own agencies, and not just USAID either. You're talking about DHS. You're talking about not just the State Department, but FEMA, Health and Human Services, just giving out this money to NGOs to help facilitate the flow of illegal labor into this country, including over 500,000 children, right? 10 of which they just picked up at the pot farm in California. So this was a great day for the D.C. office, and it looks like it's a great day for Bedford's child.
It is, and I think that we need to get Josephine. She needs to be the next Blaze contributor. I think that's going to be just the resounding statement from the audience. We always love having baby Josephine on with you, Chris.
I'm sorry she kind of stole your style here today.
She did. We matched. We called each
very
other, actually.
She's
You don't
and
know, but I
change.
have baby Josephine's phone number, and we talked.
You hear that? You're looking sharp.
She is looking sharp. Bedford, thanks so much for the time. We really appreciate it. As always, we'll see you again tomorrow. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back with more right after this. Well, real quick, before we get back to the show, we need to talk about all the ranchers in this country now. We've had this talk so many times. You've heard me say it, that 85% of the so-called grass-fed beef is in stores. It's actually imported, and that's why you need to go look at goodranchers.com, because they sell only 100% American meat. It's born, raised, and harvested right here on local family farms, and it tastes really good. We know that it's summertime. There's nothing better than grilling with your friends and family. So they have all of the steaks and burgers and chicken and even the wild-caught seafood, and you'll be able to taste the difference. Right now, every box supports American ranchers, and if you subscribe to one of them, you'll get your free pick of meat for life, and you can choose between Wagyu burgers, hot dogs, bacon, or wings in every box. Plus, if you use my code Jill, you'll get an extra $40 off at checkout. It's goodranchers.com, code Jill. Good Ranchers, American meat delivered. Well, no matter how far we get along in this news cycle, there's one elephant that remains in the room, and we know that's the Epstein files. We hear from the people in the audience all the time. The American people don't want to let this go, but President Trump says that he's more focused on fixing the country than dwelling on Epstein. And Matt, today, Trump came out and he just kept saying that those people who keep bringing up the Epstein hoax are stupid people. Now, I don't know, it just feels like this messaging from President Trump is just not lockstep with the American people right now.
Yeah, and one of the things about it is it's not even that. It's like, okay, well, why though? Because the answer has to be more than we want to move on. We need to know something about why. And you have different people, offering different theories. And I don't for a microsecond believe it's because Trump is actually in a significant way, implicated in this. He knew Epstein back in the day. He banned him from Mar-a-Lago, I think after he was, going after one of the members' daughter, So it's not as if he was buddy-buddy with him. That's not it. There's got to be other reasons. But the problem is we just don't live in a day and age where people are going to accept, okay, move on. And look, they may have to. The administration may move on. There's lots of other issues that will come up. But this is a sticking point right now, and it's very real. And I understand our own Liz Wheeler, right, has her theories on why.
Yeah, she was going through and saying that over the last 10 days, people, friends in Trump's circle, they were saying to her, especially longtime business associates who are apparently not friends, but financial friends who say, oh, you know what? Don't let him release the list because they might be associated with the Epstein files. So people close to Trump is what they're saying is that it might be close enough. It might not be Donald Trump himself, which we don't think that that's the case at all, because if so, the Democrats would have already used that against him. But that's what people are hearing right now.
Yeah. So, and this would be, I think, part of this is actually true. The thing is that he knew a lot of people, right? And not everyone knew that he was a perv and involved in all this stuff. And so he got around with everyone. And so there's no doubt that if you just looked at records of who he was associated with, you would have all kinds of people throughout the world. And a lot of those people would not necessarily be criminal wrongdoers at all. They met him at a party, they had lunch with him. They were a donor to his scientific efforts right on campus, very weirdly he was into. So there was all kinds of reasons for people on there. Then you'd have to like work through who did what and who was actually a wrongdoer. I get that part. That's actually real. Anyone associated with, Epstein in any way, everyone argues even now without any files or the things we've already seen in the past, was this person a wrongdoer or not? So that's one issue to be sure. And then of course there's the other issue we'll talk about that we asked our audience about today, which is that where multiple intelligence agencies involved in this, because how could you have an operation with all these wealthy, powerful people where you're recording them not just on the island, but in New Mexico and in a place in New York where you're bringing these girls in?
So we know Donald Trump in his last two posts on Truth Social was saying, oh, well, the intel, right? Like, look at the intel. And it's the Russia hoax. And we know, right? We talk about it all the time. The deep state is the problem. We know that there's still massive problems within the intelligence community itself. So is that possible? Absolutely. But I want to go through and look at it from a standpoint that Steve Deace was talking about earlier on The Blaze too, because I think this is the bigger issue, right? Whether you believe it's the intel or not, or whatever the reasoning is behind it, why Donald Trump doesn't want to go into this. I think Deace made a great point because he says that he can't think of a single time where a Republican standard bearer went to war against his own base and was proven right to do so, or even rewarded politically for this. So no matter where you stand on this issue, Donald Trump is fighting directly against his base. And that's what Steve's like, hey, I don't see a path to victory here.
Yeah, I mean, I think Trump, in a unique way, though, is the leader of his base, and so he's trying to tamp down expectations, right, and say this is not the priority right now. There's other priorities, and that's understandable. That sort of thing, has worked in the past and can work, I think. What Steve says, notwithstanding. On the other hand, if you're directly calling everyone stupid who wants to talk about it, that ain't it, Chief. Like, this is the one place where I'd say, it's puzzling from Trump, and it's not in character with everything else he's done. Now, what I think is going on here is that the DOJ released this stuff and made a lot of promises without a plan. I don't think they had a concrete plan as to. It's a complicated business. There's not like a file like this where everything's organized for you. There's a bunch of stuff that has been pilfered through. Trump's right. I'm sure it's been manipulated in various ways over time by all kinds of people who are trying to cover up all kinds of stuff. And it's been sitting there manipulated and spread to the 4 wins for how long? Like a long time. This has been going on a long time. So it's a complicated business to think, like, what do you release and what are you trying to accomplish by releasing it? Do you want to give the names of everyone who went there, but how do you know who did what, who is actually visiting and who was there for naughty reasons? Do you want to go after the fact that there were maybe other governments involved? To what extent was there blackmail? What evidence is there for that? Like, it's a big question. So DOJ came out, they made a big splash. They promised Liz Wheeler of this network and others, the binders full of whatever. The binders were not full of women or anything else. There really wasn't really there. And then there was no plan, it seemed like, right? And so I think what Trump is doing now is saying, hey, this is not something we want to worry about. We're going to move on. But the administration has to, and I think Trump in the past has seemed to want to, give people something. You can't say it's just not a big deal. It is a big deal. On the other hand, I understand the complicated nature of it. Like, there's not like a magic file they're withholding that they just put out in front of the public. What do you do? But I don't think there was a plan on DOJ's part. So they promised big, right, and then didn't deliver, and that's what caused this entire controversy. And then that memo that came out that basically said this is a nothing burger that people within the administration were upset about. That was a rare misstep from a White House that really has been killing it in every other way. I mean, let's not get this wrong. This is not a civil war. It's not going to rip MAGA apart. I don't think we're not there yet at all. On the other hand, it is the one place, right? The one thing you can point to, and it is a serious thing where the mandate being implemented. You got to scratch your head.
Yeah, I do look at Donald Trump. Of course, he is the standard bearer, but I think this is the one issue that people are going to say, I'm with you, Donald, on almost everything. But this issue for because it's so big, and the transparency is what they really, really want. Laura Trump came out earlier this week and she was saying there needs to be more transparency. She was saying that she thinks that will happen. Donald Trump was out today saying that he might actually go through and appoint a special prosecutor. But I look at this, and every time we talk about this, it's all about trust being restored within the government. You get one chance at this. We elected Donald Trump. We have 4 years. The clock is ticking. Yeah. Can you actually go through and rehab and reform the government enough that people are actually going to trust anything from here on out? That is the huge question that remains.
Yeah, I think that is the key issue, Jill. It's about restoring trust. It's not about, getting a certain set of documents or information. It's about restoring trust. And in that way, I have confidence that, Trump is going to, and the White House, they're going to not just let this go, they listen. And I think what happened here, again, is DOJ got out over its skis, promised a bunch of stuff, and then Trump's reaction was to defend his own. He's going to defend Bondi, right, initially, and say, hey, this is not what we want to worry about right now. But I think that the White House and Trump will eventually do something to give the people transparency on this. And then I also think they can win completely if they follow through on the other things that they need to do, and they know they need to do, and Kash Patel knows he needs to do, and Dan Bongino knows he needs to do, and Pam Bondi knows she needs to do, which is to go back at Russiagate and some of these fundamental errors, these fundamental, like the big sins of the intelligence agencies and the national security complex over the last 10 years, and start to lay all that out in front of the American people. And I think they will do that, and that will restore trust. But the message to Washington, D.C., for people, some good, this happens to everyone. Good people go into all administrations and they go native, right? They get in charge of stuff and they go, well, actually, we do give important grants that I'm now in charge of, and, I see things a little differently, and actually, this is more nuanced. And you think, none of, and then also, we can't let everyone know about how bad this agency was because I'm in charge of it now, and I don't want to ruin its reputation, and we need to restore the public trust. They'll make that argument. We are so far past that point. The audience knows this. The voters know this. No one will buy that crap anymore. And I think there's enough people in the Trump administration, certainly, who do know what we're talking about. They know that we're right. And that this will not end. Trust will not be restored until real transparency and real fundamental change is made to these agencies and departments.
Whoever's watching, the reputation, it's already gone. It's already destroyed. So we can just move on, which is what we're going to do right now. We'll be back with more right after this. Well, hindsight might be 2020, but the consequences of the COVID era are still with us. O'Keefe Media Group exposed a Johnson & Johnson scientist casually admitting that they knew that the vaccines did not work as advertised.
Do you have any idea the lack of research that was done on those products?
Joe Biden says that it's safe and effective, but he didn't know.
There's no proof. I mean, none of that stuff was safe and effective. People wanted it. Who gave it to them? It's like, all right, you know what? Cancer patient's going to die anyway. I'm sure somebody's going to get sued for that stuff eventually.
It's outrageous every time that you even think that this is happening and then you actually see the video. So joining us now here in studio is OMG founder and Guerrilla journalist James O'Keefe. James, thanks so much for being here and all the work that you do. But this video in particular, I have to think that this is going to make thousands, if not millions of people across America so angry when they see what the government has done.
Yeah, and the cavalier way the lead regulatory scientist for Johnson & Johnson just says that it's not safe, it's not, and he's eating the ice cream while he's admitting that they're lying and deceiving their customers. This comes on the heels of a number of investigations that we've done over the years into Pfizer, exposing how the mRNA vaccine, they were trying to mutate the virus. So we broke this yesterday. We just released the video of me confronting him, which is perhaps even more surreal because he proceeds to deny his own identity. And this is not low-level guy. This is not low-level people. This guy is the lead regulatory scientist for Johnson & Johnson in New Jersey, New Brunswick, New Jersey, where he's responsible for making sure that the product is safe and effective for consumers. So, it's undercover. It's hidden camera. He did not know he was being recorded. And lot to say here, but breaking news on Johnson & Johnson.
Yeah, so this guy he ran to the bathroom. Is that right? Do we have that clip? Can we show that? I mean, this is astounding.
He's going this way. He's going to run away. Is he going to walk out the back? He's going to the women's restroom. Are you confused? You want privacy, but you said your vaccine doesn't work. I am a human man. I am allowed to take a pee in the men's restroom. Yeah, he first he goes into the women's restroom, and then he runs in. This is in like some type of a beer place, and then he runs into the men's restroom. And then when he says, "You're not allowed to come into the men's restroom, James," and I say, "I'm a man. I can go in." So it's really bizarre. And whenever these people are confronted, they confront their own shadow. They're looking into a mirror of themselves, and they hate what they see. Because I'm not opining on, the vaccine. I'm just quoting him. And it's very psychological. It's very twisted. That's a 10-minute long interaction there, and he proceeds to go outside on his bicycle, and he's just completely stunned. And he proceeds to kind of manipulate me into trying to get me to not run the story, and as opposed to just admit that he lied. And all these guys, they tend to lie in public and be honest in private. And that's, of course, why we do what we do.
I mean, there's no better juxtaposition. The psychology is apparent in those two clips. I mean, the first one, like you said, nonchalant, just straight to the point. Oh, yeah, we did that. We gave the people what they wanted.
Yeah.
There we go. And then all of a sudden, are you going to own up to that? No. And that's symbolic of the entire system right now and what's going on.
It's symbolic of that's a very good point. It's the system is completely broken, and the cavalier way in which he just admits that it's all a lie. And even the metaphor of him engorging himself with ice cream. Yeah, we give them what they want. I mean, it's almost like, how do these people sleep at night? And people say, O'Keefe, when are these people going to be arrested? I don't have the power, and neither do you, to put people in handcuffs. But I do think that kind of public sunlight being the best disinfectant, that shame, that you could see the shame in his eyes when he runs into the women's restroom. I think the shame and the righteous indignation and the truth perhaps is most important, even more so, equally so to arresting people, but nobody's held accountable. I tweeted today, especially with all this Epstein stuff happening right now, if you lie about the vaccine, you're free and clear. If, because we don't know, but if you've conspired to sexually abuse minors, you're in the clear.
Yeah.
But if you're someone like me, who's reporting on what people say, the FBI will raid you. So things are completely upside down. We need to do this en masse.
Yeah, so with this one, we do have a new HHS now, right?
We do.
So we would think that could something happen here? Have they responded to this?
They have responded. HHS, they put a statement out, and I'm gonna attempt to pull it up here while we're talking. But Bobby Kennedy, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is a supporter of our work, but as to what they're going to do, I mean, they can launch investigations, congressional investigations, but at the end of the day, the Department of Justice has the power to arrest people. But they did put out a statement, and they said they're going to take, paraphrasing, but they're going to take measures into their own hands to try to oversee to make sure these vaccines are safe. But what's done is done.
Yeah, they promise transparency. I see here that it's, the evidence-based oversight, putting the safety of the American people first. Right. They're going through and trying to do this. Now, when I look at like an RFK Jr. or a Dr. Jay Bhattacharya, I want to believe what these people in the administration are trying to propose. Now, we know that there's, probably a lot of bad actors still along the way. But the thing that I look at really is that a lot of the money and the funding is being pulled from some of these bad groups already.
Well, this is according to an HHS spokesperson, quote, even during a public emergency, pharmaceutical companies are still required to follow strict protocols. Oversight doesn't stop at approval. The FDA and other agencies also monitor products closely. HHS remains committed to full transparency and evidence-based oversight. I'm not sure what that means exactly. But these government groups are limited by what they can do. We've investigated the FDA before, and they've talked about a revolving door. Not surprising to you or me. There's just a revolving door between these government agencies and between and the pharmaceutical companies. And regardless of how great Bobby Kennedy might be, The challenge for a lot of these good men is that they're put in charge of agencies that are vast bureaucracies of individuals who are not elected, not accountable, and oftentimes resist their leadership. Huge challenges.
Yeah, you talk about how we need to do this more and more and more. I'm still shocked that somebody's out there just willing to say all of these things publicly when they know that James O'Keefe is just running around filming people.
That's a common thing I get is how can these people be so honest? And I think people fail to understand the psychosis, the dark triad personalities, the narcissism, the lack of self-awareness, the lack of introspection. These people, if you're not held accountable for, first of all, you're not held accountable for anything. Mm-hmm. No one's ever held them accountable in their lives. Mm-hmm. And second of all, I don't think that they are like you or me. I don't think they practice any self-awareness. When they're confessing these things, I'm not even sure they're asking the person sitting across from them a single question. Mm-hmm. They're just confessing to the ether. And why do they do that? Power tends to corrupt, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. And if they target me, which they have, and I'm sure they'll continue to, then there's the incentives are not aligned to do what you're saying, which is for them to fear anything or anybody.
I mean, the response to this one, I would think, is going to be incredible. It already has. It's popped because of how personal this is for so many people.
Yes.
And when you see the cavalier way in which these people describe something so serious that affects millions of people's bodies in America, it still astounds me that there isn't, more accountability. And I guess the big picture for me is accountability is something that everyone is looking for, right? Everyone who voted for Donald Trump, it seems like, is saying, when will we find someone held accountable? That's why people are upset about Epstein, et cetera. Mm-hmm. I mean, what do you make of that? I mean, it's so important. I think what you're doing is essential, right? You have to keep the truth in front of people and confirm and validate what happened. But what happens if there is no accountability? I mean, does this just keep on going forever?
It's a great question. I think in this changing media environment, I mean, even what I do, people wonder if it even matters. I've never gotten that before from my own audience, but there's a substantial minority of my audience that says, it doesn't matter, we need jail. That's how people, right. I mean, I'm sure you've seen that.
Oh, yeah.
People actually
yes, our audience says the same thing.
So I guess the question becomes, the American, I'm going to call them the consumer of the news, and you guys are a news bureau, so you understand, the people have to decide, are they going to be participants in believing that the truth matters? Or does the truth no longer matter to them because our media environment has become so divided? And we're no longer the Walter Cronkite and the 3 evening shows. People believe what they want to believe. And I genuinely believe that the truth does matter. Mm-hmm. And the truth and journalism, investigative journalism, we act as the custodians of the public's conscience. We test and affirm what is and what is not a shock to our sense of shared morality. If you take away journalism, and I know a lot of people hate journalism, but what they really hate is not journalism. They hate something masquerading as journalism. If you take away that real journalism, I think you're going to destroy the fabric that keeps society together. But to your point, without accountability, I would say without accountability, our notion of freedom is an illusion. Mm-hmm. That we don't have any freedom, and we are no longer a nation of laws. And we're reaching a breaking point right here and right now, related to Epstein, but the pandemic was the good news. On a hopeful note, is I think people are more willing to talk about the vaccine. 4 years ago, you get banned for publishing this. In fact, I was banned for publishing the stuff on Pfizer. They took the Pfizer expose down off YouTube. Mm-hmm. So the good news is I think we're trending in a direction where people can tell the truth, and we're going to need people in Washington, D.C. to grow a pair of balls.
Yeah, absolutely. Long gone are the days of the 3 nightly news broadcasts, and we're all very thankful that those are gone, and you are constantly putting out more videos. So let's go ahead and take a look at a series that you have called American Swipers.
Disney, Meta, the IRS, MSNBC, the NFL, Department of Defense, we've done it all.
I set up several online dating profiles. And little did I know I was talking to a senior person within the CIA.
Senior person within the CIA? James, what do we have to look forward to here?
This is a series with, I'm partnering with Unified TV and they're a platform of independent investigative reporters and former three-letter agency people. And you're watching right there a trailer for the first episode. You can go on Unified TV and watch it, it's called American Swiper. Now, these are the videos that you've seen us do, but we take you behind the scenes, and we really we talk to the undercover people. In this case, this undercover journalist met with someone from the CIA last year and met on a dating app with the guy in the CIA. And this is perhaps the most shocking thing I've ever seen in my life. The guy that works for the CIA brags and gloats, this is the guy right there, Amjad Fasisi is his name, about how they withheld information from President Trump in his first term, which is against the law. Now, the CIA agent proceeds to take out his laminated Langley badge, which is itself a crime, and it says Chinese Mission Center on the lanyard. And it's a really fascinating episode because we show you some stuff that didn't make the YouTube cuts. At one point, he starts saying, "Wait, are you recording me?" And the undercover person has to go into the bathroom, hide the gear, come back. He looks through the purse. So it's a really fascinating series of episodes that take you inside what we do. It's kind of like James Bond, but it's maybe not as glamorous as the actual fictionized version. But truth is stranger than reality. And we have a new episode out this week regarding Disney. And we'll talk a little about that.
Well, this right here is an exciting time to be alive. I mean, we just got back from DC. We were just talking before the show about the cultural energy there. This is the kind of thing that's so important right now because it's the next level, right? It's one thing to go out and do what you do, another thing to start putting together shows. And I feel like something new is really breaking forth throughout the land. And we've all been struggling, right, to make this new media happen, and it's happening now. That's great.
And I think the thing is the difference between the health of a democracy, and we are a republic, but we're a democratic republic. The health of our democratic republic is measured by whether people are willing to say what they believe out loud. And the difference between what the truth is and what people are telling us has been so wide. So I think it is exciting to see Unified putting now a couple episodes out. And you're seeing independent. Nobody tells me what to do. I think you guys know that. Nobody tells me what not to do. In fact, if any donor or investor made the attempt to try to seduce me or bribe me, I'd record them, which is why they probably don't attempt to tell me what to do. So you're looking at something uniquely American and highly independent. And by the way, so crazy that if you wrote this and brought it to Netflix, they wouldn't run it.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's preposterous for a CIA special, whatever they call these guys, I forget the terminology, CIA spy, to be bragging to the girl about how they're breaking the law and hiding intel from Donald Trump. It's just so preposterous, but it's real.
Yes. Yes. And of course, what I love about that is the whole job of the CIA is to provide intelligence to the President of the United States of America. So that's the core mission that they have, and they're failing at that and bragging about failing at that. But another thing that's American is Disney. They can tell us anything about the Disney episode because Disney, I mean, it stood for American entertainment for so long, and now no one knows.
I grew up when I was in first grade, The Little Mermaid came out in '91, and The Lion King, they put out some decent stuff here, but this is the episode launching this week, Unified, and you're looking at a undercover reporter. You actually get to hear from our undercover people. We blur their face, but you can hear them. There's nowhere else you can do that. And we take you inside a couple executives at Disney Corporation Los Angeles, and in this episode, you get to see how we caught the vice president on tape at Disney saying that we don't hire white people. And you hear them talk about what they think about Bob Iger, the CEO of Disney, being corrupt and the reasons they give. You see us meet with these guys and how we get out of the car. We show you some moments that you haven't seen. Now, Disney is extremely powerful. And I'm not going to tell you who, but when I made my movie Line in the Sand, and I'm looking for a distributor right now, actually, but people are telling me at the time, don't go after Disney. Oh, you're never going to get your movie distributed. So I was in LA at the time in a post-production studio. So it was one of those things where they're just the most powerful. I didn't realize how powerful they were and how many tentacles they had. But we went into the Lion's Den. We go to Disney headquarters. We set up literally on the street confronting the security guards. And in fact, Disney, fired that vice president. And then Disney sent me a cease and desist letter. So,
Yeah.
This is how they get you, is the courts. But we take you on that journey in this new episode.
James, I love that you go out and you shine the light, because that is absolutely what needs to be done. So thanks so much for your time today. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Don't go anywhere. We'll have more right after this. Well, of course, Epstein is the big topic of the day. So when it came to the question that we had to ask on X today, of course, it was going to be Epstein related. So which intelligence agencies were involved with Epstein, if any? So let's go ahead and look at the results, because 66% of you think that Epstein was both CIA and Mossad, followed by the CIA, then no intelligence agency, and then Mossad alone was last with just under 6%. So I like it out there. There's a lot of conspiracies going on out there. And our audience is like, you know what? Everything. CIA, Mossad. If we put another one out there, we probably would have had that as the highest vote getter.
That was our own Rob Eno's answer, I know, was all of them, right? All of them. It was very interesting. And of course, a nod to MI6 in the comments, I noticed as well. So Five Eyes in full effect for our audience.
Yes, let's go ahead and get to some of the best replies. Eddie starts us off and says the incestuous relationship between most intelligence agencies is too much to separate. If Trump wants people to move it along, they'll actually need to give way more evidence than trust me, bro. Trust but verify is as old as I am and not good enough anymore as a corrupt government, as corrupt as our government has become. If they want people to take them seriously, then they need to be serious about the transparency and the evidence that they give, right? That's just, okay, trust me, bro, it's not going to work anymore. I think that we did, at the very beginning of the Trump administration, there was so much trust. And this is now like, okay, I'm going to need a little bit more from you now.
Yeah, I mean, I think I go again to this hint that maybe there's a special prosecutor coming. I mean, I think what you need is people just need to know there's someone in the background who's honest, who's actually working on this and not covering it up, and who's going to issue a report that maybe doesn't have everything, but has as much as you need to get a sense of what happened here. Regardless of whether or not, statute of limitations is up or you can still put people in jail. I mean, we just need a little bit of that. Like you said, trust but he's exactly right. Trust but verify was Reagan. It made sense then, but we need something more than that now because of what they did to President Trump. I mean, in large part because of that. I mean, Epstein was the in the background, but that goes back a long ways and became a symbol, but it culminated in what they did to the president himself.
Let's get to Elijah, who says that it's highly probable that we've been deceived to some extent into believing portions of an Epstein hoax. After all, the most convincing hoaxes are built on some element of truth. The Me Too movement exemplified how being guilty by association can be a hoax even more dangerous than the crime itself. When an accusation becomes the sole basis for guilt, leading to unlawful social consequences, justice becomes improbable. I look at that and I think there is a ton of truth behind that. And I think that's almost what Donald Trump has been putting out in his Truth Social posts. Like, hey, beware of what they're trying to sell you right now.
Yeah, because this is exactly right. I mean, the guilt by association is what everyone will use to try to tar everyone. And there's lots of people who are going to be involved with Epstein in some way who are just completely innocent of anything wrong whatsoever. So I think that's right. I don't think, though, it's a hoax, as he says. I mean, there's way too much. I see some journalists trying to do this and say, this is all exaggerated anyway. It's just Epstein and he liked these girls. And that does not cut it if you know anything about this. So there's more to it than that. But the Me Too point is true.
Yes, let's go ahead and finish it up with Roy, who wrote that I am beginning to wonder if this couldn't have been a completely private intel gathering blackmail situation, though no intel agency would likely take credit if they were actually involved with him. Now, I think that this is where we get right back to the heart of the matter of the question. That's why I wanted to end it that way, of just putting a nice bow on everything like Roy did.
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, I don't think it was, it could be private, right? But I mean, given, again, a lot of just facts we know, I highly, highly doubt that. But of course, no intelligence would want to take credit for it or admit they were part of it. And that is why people are suspicious if the government says that everything's fine here, there's nothing to see.
Yeah, no intel agency is going to be like, oh, Jeffrey Epstein, that one that everybody hates, oh, he was ours. No, that's definitely not the way that DC works. We were just there and got back earlier today, but it was a fun time out there, always seeing Chris Bedford and Rebecca Zelko. And Rebecca will have some of the interviews that we were doing yesterday on the Hill. She was out there interviewing, I think, like 7 or 8 different members of Congress that we'll be bringing you tomorrow. But it's always good to just go out there and get the vibe check of what's actually happening. And what a weekend of all weekends to go out there and be in DC. It's not like there was anything happening there this weekend.
Yeah, those things happening every day. Like, I mean, everything happens all the time, right? But I would say that, I had a lovely afternoon over at the White House complex in the Eisenhower building, meeting a few people for various reasons. And, I would say that business is on. Like, people are working hard. This administration started, as one staffer said, right? The wheels stayed and the train just went. It moved so fast. And now you see a lot happening all around. So there's serious battles going on within it. But you also, it's unbelievable how serious it is. There's serious people doing serious things, pushing forward every day. The amount of work that's going on is unbelievable. This is not a do-nothing administration. That was refreshing to see. But also, we're going to have a lot more of these. Also, there's some divisions and within it that in order to implement that agenda, and that's really important stuff. But overall, I would say that you still feel the cultural energy there. But now all of a sudden, it's down to business. People are actually doing things, and the sort of initial celebratory period, right, was there, and then there's initial excitement of the quick momentum, and now now it's like get to work time, and everyone's just moving forward. So that is still an exciting place to be. It's still a very positive environment. It's still a very high energy environment for the right, and you can see this political and like cultural capital building. I mean, the Buttersworth interview we did with Raheem. I mean, that place is just, it already feels like an institution, and that's a wonderful thing to see and experience.
Yeah, and when we get back to all the things that we did on the Hill yesterday with Rebecca Zelko, it'll tie in exactly with the headlines that we've been talking about today. With Epstein, Rebecca was holding their feet to the fire, making them go on record. Do you want more transparency? Do you not? A lot of the Ghislaine Maxwell questions are in there as well. So it's good to just go out there and just kind of see how they're feeling right now, because I know Speaker Johnson is one of them that is pushing for more transparency and actually is breaking with the president right now and not just going along with the party lines. And that's something that we do look for, is what's going on the Hill versus what's going on in the administration. Are they all synced up? Because we did just pass the one big beautiful bill, and Speaker Johnson, I think, thought he was probably going to get a little bit more runway out of that one, where he was going to say, oh, look, I've passed the signature legislation for you, Mr. President. Here, let me go ahead and place this right at your feet. He did not get a long period of time, a grace period for that one.
No, he didn't, and he did deserve something for doing that. That was an amazing accomplishment for the administration, but it's not the way it works now. And I mean, everything happens all the time. And for instance, this week was a pretty big one for your good friend Representative Mills. I mean, and his rent problem. These things, it just moves. It moves forward fast.
There will be more on that. I can assure you, there will always be more until it's completely wrapped up. We will continue to cover that one. That is, just one of ours that we can't let that one go.
No, there's plenty more to come on Representative Mills. Steve Baker's hard to work on that, and there's plenty more to come on all of it. And it's all good. It's good energy right now.
It is. Thanks so much for watching us tonight, everybody. We'll see you back here tomorrow.